And welcome back to Subculture After Dark. We are about to play a brand new single on our show right now called Cascading Crimson. It's from an artist called Necro from Brooklyn in the US, and we're very, very excited about this single because I took a listen to this track before and absolutely fell in love with it. So to find out a little bit more about it, we've actually got Necro on the phone right now. Welcome to the program, mate.
Hey, how's it going?
I
This
am
is
going.
Australia, correct?
It is. This is for Melbourne, Australia. Thank you so much for agreeing to chat to us.
Shout out to Australia. I've been there a couple of times. So yeah, much love.
Awesome. Now, mate, this brand new single, a lot of people would probably know you for your rap and hip hop work over the years, but you've always had a great love for heavy metal as well, haven't you?
I grew up doing heavy metal probably first. As far as the first endeavor into a career was probably doing heavy metal in a band called Injustice. I was the guitar player. I had a BC Rich Warlock. I had a yellow BC Rich Warlock, and I was like 11. So that's when I started doing music, and I was living in the projects, and still we had metal in the projects, a lot of metalheads in Brooklyn. Believe it or not, it was a big mixture of hip hop and metal in the projects. I mean, the black kids were obviously hip hop, but you just had this mixture. There was just something, like all different types of people crossing over.
Yeah.
Like, you would have like a black metalhead in the projects I grew up with. There would be a black guy who would be a metalhead, and then you would have a metalhead walking wearing bubble goose jackets and Adidas, but straight metalhead, knowing their shit, into King Diamond and fucking Merciful Fate, and it was just very crossover. Something about my projects in Brooklyn, it was very crossover.
How do you feel that shaped your musical career? Because like we mentioned, you've got a love for a lot of different genres of music. How did that shape your journey as a musician?
Well, first playing guitar, obviously I got into guitar first, and I first started playing acoustic guitar, so, I would play riffs and from bands, and then I would learn classical. So, I fell in love with classical music and, just the cool stuff from Bach or whatever. And then with hip hop, I started making hip hop beats, and then that had me listening to all these records. And it was just records from all different cultures and, all 1970s and a lot of jazz guys and really cool shit with all these instruments, from electric keyboard to, violin to, upright bass. And, I'm hearing a whole spectrum of shit, you know what I mean? From all different angles.
Yep.
But I was always into the darkness, of it. So I was always looking for the dark shit.
Yep.
So if I'm listening to metal, I'm listening to Slayer, Metallica, Death, Obituary, and then when I'm looking for samples, I'm always looking for bands that are playing very dark shit. Maybe not metal, but like the samples that they're playing, would be very, like organs and just like crazy bass lines and, dark piano loops and shit like that. So it all kind of, it's just like one big pot of influences.
Yeah. And during your career, you've worked with members of Suffocation, Anthrax, Megadeth, Sepultura, the list could go on. What's that been like for you to be able to collaborate with so many great artists and be able to create with them as well? How have you found that throughout your career?
Yeah, there's been cool experiences, Scott Ian from Anthrax. I got to work with him, so that, that was interesting. Basically, I have a different story for each guy. So, like, for instance, when I reached out to Scott Ian, I don't know if he really knew who I was, but being that he did the Anthrax Public Enemy shit, I tried to bond with him, that I'm a rapper, and so I guess he slightly kind of bonded with me. I mean, I didn't really talk with him about it that much that I remember, but so I basically, tried to get him to work with me, and I think I had to pay him like $2,500, and the first thing he sent me back, it was fucking horrible. He sent me back like whack shit, like really fucking bad guitars, and I'm just like, yo, bro, what is this, man? And I paid you $2,500, and I was like, this is crazy whack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was probably surprised to hear me. You don't know who I am. He's the legendary Scott Ian from Anthrax. I ended up finding out later it's Charlie Benante who writes all the riffs.
Yep.
So that shocked me. Then I was like, oh wow, if I would have known, I would have reached out to Charlie Benante. So I ended up having Scott Ian meet me in the studio in New York. He was in Cali, so he's like, yeah, I'll come meet you in New York, and we'll redo it over.
Wow.
So when I went and met him, no disrespect to him or anything, he was a little weird. It was like very shy guy.
Yep.
Like almost like he was scared of me or something because I'm Necro and my reputation. I don't know. It was like he thought I was going to kill him. The way he was acting. Yeah. Very bizarre. So that was my experience with him. And then, I have other experiences like where I flew, I worked with Obituary, and then I flew in John Tardy and Trevor Perez into New York to shoot a video with me, and and I worked with Dan Loca, and so like the Obituary guys were real cool. Trevor Perez was he was like, yeah, people don't expect me to do something on hip hop, but he says I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. He goes, I do what I want.
Yep.
And that was cool, because he had, he was more of like a he don't give a fuck attitude. And what's crazy is I have a story about Trevor Perez from Obituary. When I was a little kid in the metal band, we played a show in New Jersey opening for Obituary. And when I was like 11, way before he got on my album, as Necro. And I gave him a T-shirt from my band, and he wore the band T-shirt on stage for the whole show that he did.
That is amazing.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So props to Scott Ian, but I think he was a little bit weird with working with me. You would think he would have been a little bit more down and just a little bit more, cool, being that he's, a Jewish guy from Brooklyn, from New York, but he was very uncomfortable working with me, it seemed. But a guy like Trevor Perez, from Florida, and it was like, he was cool from the day I met him as a little kid. So, everybody has different personalities. Every guy I worked with is different,
Definitely. Now, your brand new single, your music is always very, very personal. Tell us a little bit about Cascading Crimson. What is this track about, and what does this track mean to you?
Well, Cascading Crimson means a lot to me because it's my first full metal song as Necro the artist in years, because I was only part of a band back in the days, and my input, it was not, like this. This is me. I did everything myself, and everything from beginning to end. I controlled everything. So, and now I have a fan base, with a million people that listen to me. So it's very different making my first metal track in 2024 than what I might have done as a little kid in 1990.
Yeah.
So it definitely means a lot from that perspective. And then, I made the track very organic, as in, like, it wasn't totally planned out or overdone. It was just done kind of more organic, just like riff after riff. And, a lot of times people write songs first, and then they'll have the whole entire song written before they record anything, and then they record. And that's a process. And then, you can do stuff where, you record each thing as it goes. With this, I kind of did it more organic. I just, did did it as I wrote it, and just because it was the only way for me to really get myself to do something. I've been trying to do something in this fashion for a long time, but I kept procrastinating just because I have the hip hop career. So, I just knew I finally needed to knock this out and just get the metal thing going. So, yeah, I mean, it's very experimental. If you listen to it, it's basically just drawing on all my influences. You can hear something that might sound like a Death riff, or something that might sound like an Obituary riff, or something that might sound like a Sepultura riff, maybe something that sounds Slayer-ish. I mean, my vocal style is very influenced by Tom Araya. He's probably the guy who I'm trying to emulate the most, because I'm not overly screaming, and Tom Araya doesn't really overly scream. He's one of the guys that basically, like the two most legible guys are James Hetfield and Tom Araya. Everyone else in metal screams. You don't understand what they're saying. You got to look at the lyric sheet. But they're the type of guys, when they're doing their lyrics, it's like you can understand what the fuck they're saying. So that's what I was going for. Even though some fans want to say, "Oh, he's rapping," I'm not really rapping. I'm just doing what Tom Araya or James Hetfield would do on the track.
Yep.
I mean, they would recite lyrics, but they would do it very sinister.
Yep.
And so, remember, it's also experimenting. It's like this is almost like my first demo. Like I'm finding myself as I keep recording. Hopefully, maybe I'll come across the voice that I want to be on everything. But for now, I'm doing what's. Come on, if you listen to Kill 'Em All from Metallica, you wouldn't expect that that's how he would be singing on Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very, right? It was kind of a screamy, right? Very screamy, like, weird in Kill 'Em All. But Kill 'Em All is awesome. But there's something about that sound. You know what I mean? So, if anything, he got more legible. By Master of Puppets, you pretty much understood everything.
Yeah.
Like when you hear him on Battery, it's lashing out the action, turning the reaction. He's not saying it like in a way where it's like, oh, you know what I mean? You understand every fucking word he's saying. So I think he wanted that. He wanted to be more legible. I think that was part of his commerciality. I'm not doing what I'm doing to be commercial. It's just probably because I'm a rapper. I want my shit to be understood, maybe. But I don't know. I guess I didn't feel like doing a voice like Max from Sepultura on everything is, and I like Max. I'm a big fan of Max, so I understand what he's doing, but that's his style.
Yep.
I didn't want to be one of those guys, because you got to keep in mind, Max is also Brazilian. He didn't know English when he first dropped his first shit, and that almost became his style. Yep. So it's like not really understanding what he's saying because he's from Brazil. Yeah. Maybe if Max was an American, he might have been more legible on the shit that he was doing, or maybe he never would have been.
Yeah.
But, he kind of like, what made him so fresh is the fact that he's a Brazilian guy, and then you don't really expect him to be perfect with English. But I think people expect me to be, I'm an American rapper, so I'm going to, so I don't know. So anyway, you're going to hear a lot of influences. Tom Araya, definitely. I wasn't really able to really apply much James Hetfield. Maybe, when I'm doing like the rap type of things like that, that's a little bit of the James Hetfield coming out of me. I didn't want to really bite him in any way, and do like, or anything like that. Then people might be like, you're just biting James Hetfield. But, there's something special about James Hetfield in a way that he applies his vocals. That definitely not the new shit, but like if you listen to the early, fresh shit, there was something unique about how he did the vocals. And, I haven't figured out how to apply my vocals in the way that he does. But I think I got something similar to the way Tom Araya does Slayer vocals. So that's really, what the song means to me. It's, there's a lot of bands that influenced me. You know what I mean? From Creator to Destruction to Voivod to... So, like, you might hear on the track two parts where I go, like, do-do-do-do on the bass line. I throw in that. It's, like, in little obscure parts.
Yeah.
Something like that is like my Voivod influence, because Voivod is very diminished chords, and everything from Voivod was very diminished. You know what I mean? They used all backwards chords and shit, and so whenever I apply that, it's like I'm going into my Voivod bag. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So whenever I'm going into the crunchy shit, like the dun 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 dun, that's my Metallica bag. You know what I mean? Because Metallica, you know, is that dun 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 down picking.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Fucking hard shit. Then anytime I'm going into something fast, you know what I mean? It's like Slayer, you know. So
yeah,
I feel I haven't even tapped what I'm going to be able to do yet. Like, I'm just... Cascading Crimson is just a sample of what I can do. It's a sample. That's it.
So, what can we expect from you now in the future? Are you going to look to do an EP or an album? What are the plans going forward now for you?
The next song is called Valiant Intruder. I'm mastering it now. So that's the next song. And then I have a song after that done called A Dick. It's basically a play off the word addict.
Yep.
It's a song about a junkie. So instead of calling it addict, I called it A Dick.
Yep.
So like when it reads, it's ADICK, because all addicts are dicks, basically. So I'm just being clever. And that song is real crazy. Kind of has a real punk, Sepultura, hardcore vibe, where the Valiant Intruder is like, I don't know, man, a mix between fucking Slayer and fucking Curtis Mayfield.
Yep.
Because I'm not only doing metal on it, I'm also included as part of the song, almost like this like 70s soul funk in it. Because what I wanted to do is when I recorded my metal, I don't want it just to be only just, let's say, metal. So in a way, it's probably a little Metallica influence, because if you notice Metallica, they would insert little inuets, if that's the right name, in between their songs. Like To Live is what's the song dedicated to Cliff Burton on An Injustice for All? To Live is, I forgot the fucking name.
Yeah.
To Live is to Die or something?
Yeah.
But in the middle, they have this part where it breaks into its thing. You know what I mean? And then, you know, like Metallica does that a lot. Like they'll have little segues. So that's what I did with Valiant Intruder. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You'd have to hear it. When you hear it, you'll understand. And that's just a way for me to demonstrate my skills. So I'm very proud of that song, because it's very different from Cascading Crimson. You know, it
Definitely.
has a definite different feel.
Yep.
And that's important, because metal songs, the thing that, you know, you love about A Master of Puppets is the fact that all the songs sound different.
Yep.
You know, so you got to experiment and try shit. So I got those two songs done. So you could say, I mean, they're not completed, but, you know, mastering's almost done. So I'm going to announce Valiant Intruder. And then once I drop those 3 singles, all 3 are done, then I'll focus on completing maybe an 8 or 10 song album. And then it'll have those 3 singles on them. And then there'll be, you know, maybe 6 songs, or, you know, I don't know. There'll be a bunch of songs that nobody's heard, so that when the album drops, you know, or everyone will have heard the 3 singles I dropped. And it'll be all, you know, you'll get to hear, you know, a bunch of songs back to back that you never heard.
Awesome.
And that's the plan for that. And then I plan to drop, you know, a brand new hip hop album as well. So, you know, those are the things I'm going to be working on. You know, a brand new Necro Death Rap album, Death Rap number 2, and then, you know, completing the metal album.
Awesome. Well, mate, we are going to play Cascading Crimson on our show right now. So what would you like to say to all of our listeners out there before they take a listen to this amazing track for the first time?
Much respect. Shout out to Australia. I got mad love for Australia. And, You know what I'm saying? Keep doing your thing. Check my Spotify out. Go on Spotify, type Necro, and follow me.